Hello, it is Thursday, December 13th. You're watching news from Kazakhstan. Petropavlovsk police paid a surprise visit to the unregistered Alga Party office in northern Kazakhstan, breaking down its doors. A similar incident took place in Pavlodar, where not only bailiffs came to inventorize property, but so did the prosecutor. We turn to our first story for more.
This video was recorded by a member of non-registered party Alga as police officers were leaving the political organization's office. According to public activist Sergei Ismailov, the men in uniform broke into the premise and proceeded to inventory all assets within. They, however, refused to produce any explanations, warrants and supporting documents. Before bringing the activist to the regional DIA, the visitors forcibly took away his documents, money, mobile phone and camera. Around 40 minutes ago, I was subjected to battery. As you can see, my shoulder and arm joints are damaged. They also hit my head against the floor. The Internal Affairs Department representatives seemed surprised at the news of violence and search episodes at the North Kazakhstan office of Alga. That's the first time I heard about it. The premises was subjected to inventory of the current floor layout, which is the total space of 118 square meters divided into 2 rooms by plastic screens. Pavlodar law enforcement officials behaved much better, while in another Alga office, court officers avoided physical assault and instead spent a few hours counting stocks of light bulbs, heaters and office dividers, despite the 120 square meter premises staying vacant for the past few months. We can't disobey the court ruling on assets forfeiture and have already provided all the required evidence. However, the law enforcement officials didn't infringe on the legal proceedings by bringing a copy of the enforcement order with no official stamp, while they should have provided the original document. The opposition party leadership refrained from comments on the visits to the regional subdivisions, which followed the convictions of Alga head for social hatred instigation and prosecution's lawsuit on declaring the party an extremist organization.
Parliamentarians ratified amendments to the bill on street signs. From now on, local residents will get to choose the names on their local signs.
In his speech to the lower parliament chamber, Culture Minister Darkhan Manbay noted that only legal-age citizens should be allowed to express their opinion on the town renaming issue. The positive outcome is possible only if more than a half of the settlement votes for the new name. On top of that, the place name should take due account of the geographical location features and cultural sensitivity. Meanwhile, naming a settlement after a dead person is only permitted after a 5-year time frame. Reporters then asked the minister if renaming Astana and Zhanaozen was reasonable in current conditions. I can't really comment on renaming Astana into Nur-Sultan. Changing the name of Zhanaozen is also not subject of the law in question, but rather has something to do with onomastics. Personally, I'm a law-abiding citizen, so I'm ready to support anything that conforms to Kazakh legislation, including renaming Zhanaozen.
In more court-related news, preliminary hearings in the case against Askar Maldashov, who happens to be the brother of opposition newspaper Golos Respubliki's Danyar Maldashov, took place on Wednesday. Askar Maldashov is accused of possession and distribution of narcotics.
On Wednesday, the Almaty Inter-District Criminal Court held preliminary hearings of Askar Maldashov's case. Danyar Maldashov, the defendant's brother, shared his opinion about the process with the press. I had a chance to talk to him 2 weeks ago at the MIA office. The investigators literally gave me 5 minutes for a meeting. He's holding up and feeling all right. On October 31st, Askar Maldashov was arrested by a special police squad which allegedly found drugs in his pockets. Maldashov was charged with drug possession and intent to sell them later, which may lead to a 10 to 15-year sentence. The activist was able to share some of his thoughts before the court issued the arrest warrant. This is revenge. I was asked to become an informer, but I refused. During the preliminary hearing on Tuesday, the defendant's lawyer filed several motions for holding the jury trial and involving national security officers as witnesses, since the defendant claims that they threatened him before. The court granted the request, but Ines Kisilova, Askar Maldashov's attorney, found some violations committed during the investigation. One of the most serious violations is the delay with the processing of Askar Maldashov's detention papers. He was given an attorney only 1.5 days after his arrest. The hearing will continue on December 25th and the case will be reviewed by Judge Muldagaliyev. According to defendant's attorney, the process will be open to public, which means the press will be able to fully cover the trial.
Almaty Administrative Court fined Golos Respubliki's chief editor Tatyana Trubacheva an amount of $100 for her attempt to remain a journalist. Trubacheva's colleagues are assured they're not being persecuted. Their daily lives are full of court proceedings as it is.
We're not allowed to work as journalists. With this slogan, the staff of newspaper Respublika came to support their chief editor. Tatiana Trubacheva is charged with violating a court-imposed publication ban when 2 weeks ago newspaper Azad printed articles supplied by Respublika reporters. Court-martial saw this as a violation of law, although journalists believe the actions of the judge is nothing but a ban on their profession. I asked the judge to explain the ruling to me and whether journalists with Respublika have the right to be printed in other publications. The judge refused to define the ruling. This way she allowed court-martials to interpret the decision in any way they want. This is a footage of an event organized by students at mass media exhibition in Astana. People wearing patriotic blue shirts are chanting, "Word is a great power." Ironically, many of them have no idea that journalists in Almaty are now on trial for their words. Kinjabulat Joldabai, the president of the Chief Editors Club and one of the event organizers, believes that everyone get what they deserve. We all live in a law-abiding country, and if we call ourselves civilized people, we need to respect the law. The publications in question are always working on the edge, and if they cross the line, they must be held accountable just like anyone else. Joldabai says that only publications present at the event are currently operational in the legal information plane. In total, there are around 30 of them. The news center now hosts 9 TV channels and 3 radio stations. The occasion also coincided with the 5th birthday of the Chief Editors Club, and its staff was actively accepting greetings from the Information Ministry officials. Chief Editors Club was actively involved in developing the Code of Journalists' Ethics. It was on the agenda for a long time and was developed at the instructions of the President. He managed to complete the work and found the concepts that would suit the entire professional community. In the meantime, Tatiana Trubacheva, the chief editor of the newspaper Golos Respubliki, was fined $100 for trying to stand up for her constitutional rights.
Guljan.org's fate is still undecided. On Wednesday, its editorial board attempted to meet with the judge presiding over the trial, which ruled to temporarily block the online publication.
According to Bostande Court, Judge Abaydildieva is busy reviewing another case, and the trial involving Guljan.org is postponed until December 20th. Guljan Yergalieva, the website's chief editor, believes the trial is being deliberately delayed to paralyze the company's operation and drive away its traffic. Back on December 5th, the office of Guljan.org received a judicial notice suspending its operation for 3 months. We can't work for already 5 days, which of course leads to certain professional and material losses. Meanwhile, we're losing the audience and the staff doesn't know what to do. Nobody will be made liable for this. But I will look for penalties and file claims against the prosecutor's office for initiating the case, and the judge who rules in accordance with guidance from senior officials to block the media.
In other news, literary readings in honor of those who fell in Zhanaozen and Shetpe. Poets, authors, and public figures read out works on the subject of the tragic events.
Poem readings is one of the events scheduled to mark the anniversary of Zhanaozen tragedy on December 16. City residents will lay flowers to the flagpole that replaced a monument to political repression's victims. Yesterday, ordinary people and politicians came to listen to civil lyrics. According to some of them, poems with political context hardly find their way to the audience due to artificial barriers. The authorities banned all good poems and songs. The censorship is very strong now. The government is afraid that masses will unite, and that is why people who have something to say have left the country. The border is closed. Rahat Aliyev's notorious book was banned in Kazakhstan. The internet is also under tight control, while newspapers that publish objective and truthful information are being axed.
More than 60 Center Gaz Energomontaj construction workers went on a spontaneous strike in protest to their low wages. The strike halted the construction of a new heating plant on the outskirts of Astana for a few hours, right at the time when Labor and Social Welfare Ministry officials reported on the work done in regulating labor conflicts. More details up next.
On Wednesday, more than 60 construction workers of HPP2, the main strategic facility in Astana, held a protest action in front of the employer's office. They demanded a salary increase as they went through a major pay cut. We went on strike because of the low salaries. With the holidays approaching, our families are expecting money. Yet the employer brought in workers from Uzbekistan and subcontracted some work to them. We don't know what it might lead to down the road. People from all over the country came here to work. We don't ask for much if they'd pay us what is due. For 2 weeks in this cold weather, they were going to pay us $200, which makes $400 a month. We don't agree with it. In the meantime, the Deputy Director of Human Resources disagrees with the demands of the workers. According to her, it's the workers' fault as they simply don't fit in the schedule. The door is open for those who don't like the working conditions and the salary, she added. We paid in accordance with your labor contract, the rate of index of labor distribution. Therefore, if you didn't meet the scheduled amount of work, then that's how much you will receive. If you don't like the system of payment, you are free to go. We're all work under the labor agreement here. Say, I don't like something about my job, then I'm free to quit. The same applies to you, that's all. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security held an extended board session discussing the regulation of labor conflicts. The minister admitted that there are problems across the whole country. According to him, in 2011 through 2012, there was 35 major labor disputes recorded. More than half of them occurred because of unpaid wages, while the rest due to wage rate. Wage arrears mostly occur in construction industry. You're well aware of which regions hold the most construction, while discontent with wages is basically observed in the oil and gas sectors. A year after the most notorious labor conflict in the west of the country, which resulted in shooting in Zhanaozen, the officials speak about the disputes in the oil and gas sector again. After the spontaneous rally and communication with the employer, the HPP workers went back to the work sites. However, there is no guarantee that they will agree to make a compromise next time.
Kazakh native Alexander Ulyanovsky, who is wheelchair-bound, shot a movie to demonstrate to officials what it's like to overcome barriers in life. The picture is intentionally released on the eve of Independence Day in honor of independence for people with disabilities. It will be available online soon.
6 years ago, a practicing athlete and promising programmer Alexander Ulyanovsky suddenly found himself confined to a wheelchair. That, however, didn't break his spirit. Alexander completed primary education as well as online interior design courses, and now he avoids being treated as a person with disabilities. Most people are too lazy and insecure to go outside and face public attention. I do realize I'm different, however, I still consider myself a normal human being with a strong will to live. Permanent disability revealed the other side of life to Alexander. Psychological hardships aside, he faced a whole range of daily routine problems, as even visiting a local grocery store became a challenge due to street curbs and the lack of special ramps. That's when Alexander decided to make a documentary about everyday struggle of wheelchair-bound people. The filming started in summer, while the premiere is planned for Kazakhstan's Independence Day in hopes of greater public response. I'm not expecting a bombshell effect from the movie, but if we manage to evoke a response even from a couple of people, then there is a good chance others will eventually follow. Today, only large shopping malls in Kazakhstan are equipped with wheelchair ramps. One official who hasn't yet seen Alexander's film was glad to share the government's plans for improving the situation with disability access to public amenities. More than 2,000 facilities throughout the region were marked for inventory reconciliation to certify they provide easy access for disabled citizens. Certification of over 370 premises was planned in total for 2012. As of November 1st, 250 locations have already been subjected to inventory. Alexander's film will be shared across social networks on December 16th, Kazakhstan's Independence Day. Producers are convinced it will get attention of like-minded and non-indifferent people and might even encourage new government projects.
The country's financial institutions are presenting annual reports and discussing roads to transparency. Ideally, these reports are designed to provide a comprehensive picture for big and small investors about companies in which they would like to invest. We attempted to translate them from economic to English and investigated whether everything is really that transparent in Central Asian business.
According to executives of various companies, transparency of financial reporting is the norm nowadays. On the other hand, a private company is not required to disclose all confidential information. But on the other, the provision of information to investors is a way to give an inside look at the company in order to assess potential value of the business. Annual reports serve as means of communication, making it a very important tool. Logically, annual reports should reveal the organization's work progress, the results of its operations, source of funds and financial flaws, as well as target audience and the way the provided services are applied. All of that will link the company with potential partners and assets. Financial reporting standards were developed by the state holding Samruk-Kazana as the corporate management policy. Poses certain requirements for annual reports. It employs international practice development theory closely linked thanks to integrated reporting. In turn, the latter combines annual and sustainability reports. The presentation of data is also crucial. For years, similar reports contained only plain text and figures. Nowadays, businesses spend a lot of money on design and content of reports to make them readable and attractive. Nevertheless, reporting in Kazakhstan differs from the generally accepted international practices. First of all, the difference in how companies operate in the market affects corporate governance and business models, as well as disclosure of information about risks. In general, the content of Kazakh companies' reports is very similar to that of Russian companies, who in turn look up at the UK-based companies. This trend implies that local business is moving towards Western standards via Russian practices, which means modeling through mismanagement, instability, high rate of political corruption, and all of the related risks.
$3,000 for a 777. This is the cost of a custom license plate starting next year, reports the Traffic Police Committee.
The issue of nice-looking license plates has been raised again after the news about the introduction of new model license plates in Kazakhstan, which is already in use. The new tags have numbers instead of letters to identify the area. There's also a national flag designed on them with no screw holes. In the meantime, the sales of so-called fancy license plates like 007 continues. It's a controversial issue which has been discussed for a few years already. According to Tax Committee, at some point it was suggested to auction them off. However, this contradicted the sales tax code. Therefore, the popular license plates will be sold within the framework of the Road Traffic Act, which will come into force next year. According to the new law, the fancy license plates will be very pricey. The license plates like 001, 009 and 777 will now cost about $3,000.
The Soviet Army sent in a limited contingent of troops to Afghanistan on December 12, 1979. A date which was marked by war veterans on Tuesday. However, 33 years on, they still choose to abstain from making political characterizations of the events. To the Afghan war veterans, it is a day to remember their fallen comrades. Our reporters met with those who still believe in sacred international duty.
On Wednesday, fellow soldiers of the 12th Guards Regiment of the Motorized Rifle Division who fought in Afghanistan gathered for a meeting in Almaty. Soviet Union joined that war after the Politburo's decision on December 12, 1979. USSR is now the thing of the past, and many soldiers internationalists have left Kazakhstan. The few who came to Almaty paid tribute to their fallen brethren. During the war in Afghanistan, Vladimir Garshin was a chief of staff in the 12th Guards Regiment. He currently resides in Russia and has not visited Kazakhstan for 16 years. He, however, came to Almaty as soon as he learned about the memorial event. In the battlefield, both officers and soldiers were real friends. We might not show it, though. However, we always supported each other while carrying out military tasks. The 12th Guards Regiment is still highly regarded in the military community. Its soldiers were first noticed as far back as the Second World War. The Guards Regiment was awarded 4 orders and produced 14 heroes of the Soviet Union. Anatoly Akhmatov is a former political officer of the unit. He never opposed military orders and doesn't condemn them now either. Some of the soldiers have already become grandfathers, but I'll always remember them as young boys who were brought there at the age of 19 or 20. They performed their duty with honor and never sheltered themselves behind their fellows. There were no cases of betrayal and cowardice. And I want the memory of the soldiers' feats to remain not only in our hearts, but also in the hearts of our descendants. Having laid the flowers at the monument to the soldiers of the Afghan war, the group went to the second monument to the hero of the Great Patriotic War, Baurjan Mamushuli. On the way, the veterans told jokes and remembered their service. The memorial event was arranged by the union Boevoye Bratstvo. Representatives of the city administration as well as activists of the ruling party were also invited. They, however, never showed up. At the memorial event, none of the soldiers condemned the Politburo's decision that cost the lives of 15,000 of their friends. The main goal of Boevoye Bratstvo leadership is to raise patriotism in young people. This means that our military brotherhood is very strong. We want our younger generation to see the heroes of Afghan war who must be taken as role models. Another memorial event is scheduled for December 25th. On this very day, 33 years ago, Soviet troops were brought into Afghanistan. In military circles, the day is marked as the day of mourning.
Arctic weather hits Kazakhstan. Several regions of the country experienced temperatures of -30 degrees Celsius, which may not be the limit. Upcoming winter months may be even colder for some regions. More on the vagaries of weather in the next and final report.
It's been the average of -30 degrees Celsius in Pavlodar and other regions of the country for several days now. Northern, central and eastern parts of the country resemble the Ice Age. It's quite dangerous to walk outside without a proper clothing in this kind of weather. Apparently, the scholars forgot to warn people about the Ice Age preceding to the global warming. The staff of Pavlodar Emergency Situations had to block off several routes of regional and national importance. Yet this didn't prevent from the incident. The passenger bus crashed into the roadside ditch in the suburbs of Pavlodar. The preliminary causes is the low temperature and icy roads. The bus was heading to Novosibirsk, Russia from Shymkent. According to the drivers, there were 20 passengers in the bus and 2 drivers. One of them was a woman. Currently, all bus passengers were evacuated to the nearest high school in Zhetekshi village. Semey had their first casualties of several frosts. Doctors insist this is nothing but a simple non-compliance with basic safety rules. The most common injury is the frostbite of the wrists. Some people didn't pay attention while working outside, others simply didn't dress warm enough. The official Astana announced that all schools have been shut down due to the cold weather. Looks like the freezing temperature will last till the end of the week. Astana expects -30 to -35 degrees at night and -27, -32 during the day. No precipitation is expected in Almaty as well, with 15 to 20 degrees below zero at night and 8 to 13 during the day. However, there's always a positive side to everything. The snowfall saved the life of a young woman who tried committing a suicide by jumping off the 5th floor. Luckily, she fell into the snowdrifts.
That is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.